So we are here today because I met earlier this year, finally, with a constituent, Lauren Footman, who's going to be testifying this morning about some concerns that we had talked about briefly in passing, but sitting down really brought to my attention that while we have a human relations code in Pennsylvania that protects around a lot of different harassment and workplace problems, there's more issues that need to be addressed. And I'm so grateful to Lauren for meeting with myself and my chief of staff not so long ago to talk about what more can we do as a legislative body to make sure that every type of uncomfortable workplace setting is protected and addressed in the law. Every single body, every person needs to be safe at work. That means free from physical harm as well as mental and psychological abuse. While we do have laws to protect workers from environmental hazards, we need to do more to protect people from workplace psychological hazards like bullying and oppressive treatment that create toxic work environments because that causes undue stress and anxiety for employees. According to the American Psychological Association, psychologically healthy workplaces are ones where employees trust that they are valued members of the team. You can openly discuss mistakes, problems, tough issues, and seek help. Feedback, offering ideas without being targeted for negative treatment. Laws like OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, they cover employees at most private sector jobs and some public sector jobs by making sure there are safety standards. But that's mostly on physical safety. The laws fail to protect employees from workplace psychological abuse unless an employee is a protected class under Title VII or the Civil Rights Act and can prove that that abuse stems from a membership in the protected class. So we are here today to talk about expanding the definition of workplace safety, especially as we stress the importance of mental health in our
those different
community.
things. But people really, number one, shouldn't have to work in unsafe work environments, but they definitely shouldn't have to worry about making a decent living because they're honest about their experiences with the repercussions of being in unsafe work environments. So again, my name is Lauren Footman. I come to you today as a practitioner, a researcher, and also a survivor of workplace abuse. As a HR professional and a DEI professional, one of the common threads that we often talk about is how can we create environments where people can show up as their authentic self. Well, part of being able to show up as your authentic self is being able to feel not only that you're seen, but you're valued, and that people will not use resources, their superiority, or positions to negatively impact your mental health. Working in HR and DEI, there was countless times where people were like, well, your civil rights weren't violated, so we can't do anything, or they're not a protected class. But we know that there are real realities that impact not only the services that we provide across sectors and then also the well-being. And so as we think about having employees who feel valued and protected, that means that they feel psychologically protected to, again, not just always succeed, but even when they make mistakes, particularly women of color. And that will dive a little bit into my personal experience being a Black woman living at these intersections, but recognizing that there is emotional tax levied on people who don't feel psychologically safe. So this means that you're always on high alert. And so we also know that these same communities are predisposed to high blood pressure and other outcomes. And so when you add in the stress of feeling like you always have to be on guard, that you often may be asked to do more work with less compensation, and then on top of it may actually be targeted because of your lived experience, there's something that must be done. And again, most people that actually took advantage of Family Leave Act or short-term disability, either our departments were written out of the budgets or our roles were given away, predominantly women and or women of color that this happened to. So even when we tried to recover, the pattern was, okay, you take advantage of these resources, you're now expendable and something's wrong with you, and they talk about your personal business while you're trying to recover. My personal experience with workplace psychological abuse has been deeply painful, revealing, and also public. I faced retaliation for being a whistleblower, including shunning, deliberate exclusion from meetings, and marginalization. Financial resources were taken from my office. And then the spread of inappropriate, harmful, sexualized rumors on how I was successful at a young age took hold while I was out by HR professionals. That was then coupled with being told that I was not worth helping because I was not an attractive white woman, like my colleague at another department. And then having my same abuser rev his Ram engine truck at me as I was pulling out of the parking lot in media. And the unfortunate part is I did tell. I told HR, I told my bosses, I told all of those, I told everybody that you could tell, and that person was still set for a promotion. The subsequent removal of my staff and while addressing the health impacts in this particular organization, unfortunately, are still occurring. I shared with Michelle just yesterday that a colleague called me and said, "What am I going to do?" She doesn't mind that I share this. She was taken out in a stretcher coming out of the courthouse. She almost had a stroke because of work-related stress. And she developed high blood pressure and then subsequently developed breast cancer. Had 6 surgeries and was told it would be inappropriate for her to return to work. And just because she wanted to return to work, it was nothing. They couldn't create a job for her. Well, we all know through FMLA and ADA that her job, some type of role should have been provided to her. She is now without a job, without employment, and she only has access to health benefits, which is nice. However, she now has no form of income.
I'm an attorney with over 25 years of experience, and I am also a certified executive coach. Part of what led me to coaching were issues very similar to the things that Lauren has talked about. Too often from the management side, there are the known bad actors, the toxic high performers who have been tolerated, and the work around the office is, oh, that's just Joe. Everybody knows how he is, because too many times companies are stuck that a complaint gets filed, an investigation is done, and because the abuse that happened does not rise to the level of harassment or discrimination because of a protected category, even the most well-meaning managers who impose some type of discipline, if it is not supported across the organization, nothing happens. And you get back to, oh, that's just Fred, he's mean to everybody. And it is frustrating from a management standpoint, and it takes a toll on the organization, because when everybody knows who the bad performers are, it drives down morale. There was a 2023 Harris poll. 71% of American workers have had or currently have a toxic boss. 69% of those employees are looking for new jobs. Forbes HR metrics in 2024, companies with highly engaged employees are 21% more profitable and 17% more productive. Yet companies still are left in this gap to not be able to address.
That come up often is people are saying that they're filing complaints, but they're not hearing back, even for the things that you already do protect and cover. Because I do think if they started doing more state-initiated investigations themselves, once they're based on a data criteria, that would also help.
Brings to the forefront of my mind my first employer out of law school, and how it was just a culture, to your point, Michelle, where it's like, oh, so-and-so is just mean, and this one harasses everybody. And I'm an older millennial, and we were not Gen Z, so we literally just complied. We did not report anything or anybody. We just complied. And there's a lawyer now that's still at my former employer who says, stop telling people I made you cry. And it's like, no, you shouldn't have been a bully. How about that? How about you should have never bullied me and put me in a position where at my job, not in my car or on the L or in my house, that people saw like me hang up the phone with you and that's all I could do. It's like, no. Don't tell me to stop telling people that, because I think that we see now a generation of employees that is not willing to do what my generation did. Put your head down and think you just got to work. It's like, wait a minute. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't feel right. And we're not going to tolerate it.
My experience is a battle that for years I've heard countless stories about, but never in a million years that I think that I would be a part of the stigma. I was the one that blew the whistle on situations that took place, and the individuals that I reported to did not like what I had to say because they had both personal and familial relationships with the other employees. To which, when I contacted the EEOC about seeing if I actually had a case or could take this any further, the EEOC let me know that they do not handle cases of nepotism. However, the constant feelings of intimidation, manipulation, character assassination, and lack of respect displayed trumped them all. Although my time at this organization was short, it was my pleasure to lead some of the most wonderful people who had expressed that they were pleased to have me as their supervisor. Their ability to communicate with me and their comfortability levels grew with me as they saw me as a safe space. They shared with me on several occasions that they did not feel comfortable expressing their concerns with any other authoritative figures at the place of employment. It is my hope that my story can be shared with others as a tool to understand that your traumas do not define you and that your voice matters.
Today, I sit before you as a proud whistleblower. I am a licensed social worker, and for that reason, I have a passion for helping others and uplifting the community. But I couldn't quite figure out why. Why in such a helping field would people go in and abuse each other, which also impacts the customer or the client. My doctoral research was focused specifically on workplace incivility and the impact on social workers, human service professionals, and other professions. Most recently, SHRM determined that 58% of employees quit their jobs due to toxic workplace structures or cultures, and the annual cost recently after post-COVID was $22.3 billion. This not just impacts the individual, it also impacts our economy. It impacts the resources that are available to those individuals that are experiencing workplace abuse. Without people, there is no business. Therefore, there is no economy. The reasons for passing the Workplace Psychological Safety Act or supporting something similar is quite simple, just to put people first. I hope that you will expand and enforce accountability by crafting laws, policies, and procedures reflective of the Workplace Psychological Safety Act. Provide proactive platforms and a safe process of transparency to address workplace psychological safety. Again, supporting what soon-to-be Dr. Footman said was acquire data to support an evidence-based approach to workplace psychological safety. In closing, the Workplace Psychological Safety Act can provide the following: a foundation and enforceable authority to change the landscape of toxic work environments, a springboard for action that influences a broader spectrum of critical matters directly affecting employee retention, functioning, and security, upholding shared core values and missions of improving productivity and increasing return on investment across Pennsylvania, which yields a higher return on investment for the employee, but also the employer, benefiting the workforce and the economy. Our lives are not determined by what happens to us, but by how we react to what happens. Not by what life brings to us, but by the attitude we bring to life. A positive attitude can cause a chain reaction of thoughts, events, and outcomes. It is a catalyst, a spark that creates extraordinary results. The people that have come before you today, as well as myself, we are hoping for extraordinary results. We are asking for you to act.
Alec, I am the Deputy Secretary of Safety and Labor Management Relations. One of the 4 bureaus that I oversee is called the Bureau of Occupational and Industrial Safety. This is the bureau that, to the extent Pennsylvania has protections for workers in the workplace, chances are BOIS enforces it. However, as was mentioned earlier, these protections are for the workers' physical safety. There is no law that BOIS enforces that addresses or protects a worker's psychological safety. In that regard, the protections are rather limited. You would have to prove that you're a member of a protected class and that the discrimination or rather the hostile treatment you received was a result of being a part of that protected class, which can be a challenging space. So quite frankly, we agree that Pennsylvania workers deserve better, and they deserve more protection in this space. A mentally safe workplace enables workers to be more productive. It enables workers to have a better work-life balance. It improves engagement and retention. But one thing I want to note is that I believe this is an issue that employers should also embrace. A mentally safe workplace and a workforce that feels empowered, protected, does better. They're more engaged. They care more about their work and what they're doing. They're more collaborative. So I just want to note as well, that there are benefits absolutely on both sides of the aisle for this issue. Employer, employee, by saying the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry is supportive of initiatives that promote and increase workplace safety. We believe protections for workers from physical, psychological abuse would empower workers and foster a more productive workplace for everyone.